Hi, this is Doug from Detroit Blockworks. Today we're going to talk about Greenway. The city's got a whole bunch of projects called Greenways all over the city. You might be aware of one called a DeQuinder Cut, but there's a whole bunch of them. And these are walking paths or biking paths or streetscapes through neighborhoods to make it easier for people who are on foot to get around. You can think about this as benches, places to bike, places to walk, signals, bus stops, lighting, all sorts of different things that make it easier for the public to get around in their neighborhood if they're not driving in a car. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Greenway the city is going to be building in Old Redford. And they have proposed that there could be a path, something like coming out of Rogel down through the neighborhood, touching on Holcomb, where there's some development happening, and then coming back up into the bottom of Rogel. But that's just one of many options. For example, there's a few parks in the neighborhood. So there's a park up in Clarita. There's Holcomb, which will have a little bit of a park. There's one over here on Patton, down at the bottom of the neighborhood by Santa Clara. And then there's a big playfield all the way on the other side of Evergreen called Millen Playfield, where there's like a soccer field and all sorts of good stuff that people might want to access. So maybe there's a walking path that takes us through the neighborhood over to Millen Playfield via Santa Clara. Alternatively, there's a park up here at the top of the neighborhood on Stout. So we could come from Clarita up over to Stout and then down to Millen Playfield. Another thing we could do is we could think about making it easier for kids to walk around the neighborhood when they're coming to and from school, specifically when they're getting dropped off by the buses. So, for example, a lot of kids get dropped off on Pickford. So we could put in benches, covered stops, lighting. We could clear brush. We could make sure the lines of sight are really good. All kinds of stuff that make sure that kids getting through the neighborhood are safe and able to, take care of themselves in inclement weather. Below this video, you're going to see a link to a PDF of this map. We'd love to see you print that out, draw a path that's interesting to you, and send that to us. Take a picture of it or scan it and send that to us, along with why you think that could be an interesting path and what kind of stuff you'd love to see on that path. There'll be emails at the end of the presentation for where to send those. Now I want to get into some of the policy stuff around this. So the city released this bid a couple of days ago on the 24th. It's due back on the 19th, and this is to hire a designer. So this would be the person who actually is going to do all the technical design and guide the implementation and hopefully have a good relationship with the community. They're being given $1 million implementation budget. And if you're interested in getting into the details of that, the two options are there's this link at the bottom. You go to BidSync, you create an account, and you can get the full packet. Or you'll see a link below the video that has the parts that are relevant to the community, where we just cut out the parts that were like contracts and technical things that don't really affect the community. We encourage you to go either path that you're more comfortable with. Now I want to talk about community involvement. This section is actually pretty good. This is straight out of the RFP, and I'm going to go through it in sections. So first off, there'll be a kickoff meeting, and this is just so everybody can meet each other, know what everyone's job is, and sort of figure out what this is going to look like. There's going to be a meeting where the city and relevant members of the community can come together and discuss all these sort of policy things like the Strategic Neighborhood Fund, the larger Neighborhood Framework Plan, and to talk to the land bank. In addition to that, there will be three, or a minimum of three, meetings with the community where they'll do all the sort of things you see listed here, like priority setting, route verification, branding and cultural identity, arts installation and programming, and the actual construction, so the technical parts of the work. And then the designer who's selected will be expected to deliver things like a summary of those meetings along with some other technical requirements. This is the part we want to get into where we think there might be an opportunity for change. So the parts that are in white we think are pretty reasonable. So overall strength of the concept is being assigned 20 points. So this is like there are criteria. You get a certain number. The bid that gets the most points wins. Design and engineering excellence, get some points. Proposed timeline obviously makes sense. They want to be able to do it within a couple of years. And, being based in Detroit gets some points, and that obviously makes a ton of sense. The place where we think there's an opportunity for improvement is in previous project experience. The city lists a whole bunch of things that are technical. Hey, are you able to actually design this thing? And obviously that's very important, and we think that should get points. But this is the only part where they really talk about community interaction, and this is focused on arts. So this is saying, do you have examples from your past of doing arts-based community interaction? We would like to see, can we get an explicit grade on past community engagement success? And we think the most important part is, can we hear from communities where these designers have been active, either in person or in testimonials, so we have some idea that they've engaged with the community and that that community felt like they were heard and that the project paid off. We'd also like to see if we can get a commitment from the designer to meet with the community prior to being selected. Rather than selecting a designer and then meeting them, we'd like to sit down and have a conversation and get a sense of each other before one of the designers is selected. Finally, we think it'd be really valuable for the city to set up some sort of unmediated feedback so that community members can express whether they feel like the community engagement part of the designer's work was a success, and can that be a part of the criteria for whether or not that designer succeeded in their contract with the city. If you have any questions, comments, or if you filled out one of the ideas for your own path through the neighborhood, please send it to either Doug@DetroitBlockworks.org or Tommy@DetroitBlockworks.org. Either one is fine. We can't wait to see what the community comes up with.